So what I wanted to talk to you about today was just to share you some information about our very exciting Nonprofit Institute Endowment campaign. And it's really meant to just help us be best positioned for the future to serve our region and elsewhere across the US. And in case you don't know this, we're actually going to mark our 20th anniversary next year. So we're very excited about this. And I think that makes this endowment campaign especially timely. And also, just to give you a sense of where we came from, we actually started out as a graduate program. That was what was first started at the Institute 20 years ago. And the graduate program was meant to serve in the School of Leadership as an MBA type program, but for nonprofit professionals. And part of that early DNA was to have pro bono kind of consulting programs that students that would be involved in as part of their learning that would serve the nonprofit community. And that's really part of this values of the school anyway, the School of Leadership and Education Sciences. It's very much a school of community and public service. Well, of course, a lot has changed since then. We are now separate from the graduate program. We have a graduate program that's master's, PhD, and undergraduate, minor, I should say. And then we have the Nonprofit Institute that's its own separate entity that sits alongside the graduate program, and it serves our nonprofit professional community outside of the graduate program. We're home to nationally renowned programs. And of course, we have this three-pronged mission to deliver our action-oriented research, develop transformational leaders, and build high-impact organizations. Endowment funds have really always played a catalytic role in the Nonprofit Institute's programming and even in our graduate program before that. Early on, we had scholarship funds for master's students from a number of local funders and donors. And then what really seeded the Nonprofit Institute was a large gift from the Castor family. It was about $1.5 million from the Castor family to seed our research institute. And that's where we conduct our State of Nonprofits and Philanthropy research. We lead our Equinox Quality of Life dashboard research and other kinds of research that we do. And that is in the Nonprofit Institute. All of these endowments really help to deepen our anchor institution work at the University of San Diego, which is one of the nation's leading anchor institutions, really meant to use the university to work in service of the community by helping to develop ethical leaders and mission-driven, values-driven organizations to really confront our most urgent challenges. And while we primarily serve nonprofits and philanthropy, it's inevitable that we work across all sectors. Of course, because nonprofits and philanthropy intersect very closely with government and the for-profit sector. So we have any number of partners across the community of the San Diego region, and that is by design what we do. So how do we really make a difference? Well, we obviously provide data and analysis and insight. That's really important. Before we started doing our State of Nonprofits and Philanthropy research, nobody knew how many nonprofits there were in San Diego. Nobody knew where they served, what kinds of services did they provide, where were they distributed geographically, what were some of the trends in the sector, how much philanthropy do we have in the San Diego region, what does that look like? So that's really a big thing that we've done, as well as this quality of life dashboard to track our progress in our region. Also, being in one of the oldest schools of leadership in the country that focus on developing leaders that promote social change for the common good is really a critical focus of the stuff that we do and where we make a big difference. We have any number of leadership programs in that regard, ranging from Leaders 2020 to Rise Urban Leadership Fellows that is sunsetting and turning into a new program, to our Outdoor Leaders programs and many others. But we also focus on the organizational capacity of nonprofits and really on their effectiveness to extend their mission in service of our community. And a core priority in that regard also is training those boards and volunteers for nonprofit leadership and service so that they can really effectively provide those organizations with the kind of leadership that they need to not only be good organizations, but great organizations, really fulfilling their mission to their greatest extent. And then finally, another area that's really important for the Institute, which you don't see everywhere, is this facilitating this program designed to measure impact. This was something early on in the formation of the Institute that we heard over and over again from nonprofit organizations, that they needed help in evaluating their programs and communicating their impact. We strongly believe, it's a core value of ours at the Nonprofit Institute, that students that are going through the graduate program should have our support. And however we can engage them in our programs and our research, we do so. In fact, at any one time, we have at least 1/3 of our staff comprised of students. Right now, we actually, these are the students that we've supported over the last year. And actually, we just hired another, and we're going to hire 2 more. And one of the things that you can see is we don't just support them in wages, but we invest in them with scholarships. So we've supported them with over $1 million in scholarships and wages just since I came to the Institute. And during the time of the pandemic, we really doubled down on our support for students because we knew there were hardships among our student population. So we increased our scholarship funding by 40%, and I'm very proud of that. Our scholarships next year, we're planning to increase that support as well. So, right now, I think our biggest challenge, and where the endowment can help us, is that the demand for services continue to outstrip our capacity. And because we've relied for so long on fees for services, it really limits our capacity to be more proactive in our research and respond to community needs. And of course, then we don't have that much by way of discretionary funds to innovate or quickly respond to critical challenges or issues in our community. And then another issue, and I'm sorry for the text at the bottom, it's a little jumbled, but I'll tell you the big picture story. We, when I came in, we actually had a subsidy of tuition that comprised about 24% of our budget. And I was told we had to eliminate our reliance on that tuition so that, of course, the university could serve more students and not be subsidizing the Institute. But that meant that there was more onus on us as the Nonprofit Institute team to diversify our revenues. A second thing that I noticed when we came in was that we relied very heavily on contracts, 46% of our funding. So that kind of creates a boom or bust situation in terms of our existence. So what I was really trying to do, and what Kim and I and the rest of the team have been focused on, is really diversifying our revenue stream. And that includes building an endowment. And that's where the $2.5 million challenge from Paul Eichen comes in. He's an alumni of our program, a huge champion, has always been a big supporter of the Institute, and he issued this $2.5 million challenge in 2019 with the goal of a 1-to-1 match to create a $5 million endowment that would give us about $200,000 a year in new funds that we could use. And of course, we feel honored that some of our alumni have been big champions for and served on our advisory board. Christy has stepped off, as you know, and we're very lucky to have Karen on board now. And Marisa is one of our current advisory board members. They really help us make high impact programs and really have an impact across the board to really help anchor and institutionalize our work at the University of San Diego. And what we really want to do then with this endowment is be able to be better positioned to deliver this leading edge research on key trends and issues, like doubling down on our research that we did last year with COVID. We doubled the amount of surveying that we would have done, and having more flexibility in creating innovative and timely programs to develop nonprofit capacity. And then of course, that next generation of leadership. We're at a university that's central to what we do, and there's a lot we can do in the nonprofit sector. So we really appreciate all of your help as advisory board members and helping to really get the word out about the Nonprofit Institute. And we're really grateful our Nonprofit Institute Advisory Board, each member commits to giving to the Institute each year in whatever level to make a difference for the Institute and demonstrate community support, as well as to connect us with others to engage in the endowment campaign and be a champion, serve as an ambassador. So we really appreciate your help and are open to any questions you might have.